We're going to look back on the Champions League draw, which was made today for the quarter-final and semi-final stages. We know the sides will be facing one another and which sides of the brackets they are on. It's Benfica taking on Liverpool, and the winner of that tie will take on the winner of Villarreal against Bayern Munich. On the other side of the bracket, it's Chelsea against Real Madrid and Man City taking on Atletico Madrid. Some tasty matchups there. As we now welcome in Sid Lowe, Mario Malchiot for the first time, and Frank Leboeuf as well. Mario Malchiot is here, and I'll tell you what, we're really happy to have you, Mario, but not as happy as Frank Leboeuf was when we were doing our mic checks today. So we know we've made Frank a happy man, but we will start with you, Mario, because we want to talk about this tie between Chelsea, your former club, and Real Madrid. Who do you think is happier with that tie, Chelsea or Real Madrid?
I mean, if I look at the way Real passed, PSG, I think sometimes when you hit it so high and you ask so much from your body, like physically, and I feel it could be that Real Madrid maybe hit that peak where they were looking for to get it later in the stage. So this might be a good time for Chelsea, especially, to play everything what's going on in their mind, to play that away. I always ask. So maybe also I'm a little bit biased, so that's why I'll pick Chelsea to go for it.
Well, let's take a look at what the reaction's been to this tie in Madrid, Sid. How has it been taken that Real Madrid will be facing Chelsea again?
Well, I think when you looked at the teams available in the draw, there was a very clear sense here in Spain that this was a case of, if you possibly could, and obviously it's not in your control, avoiding the Premier League teams and Bayern Munich. So they didn't succeed in doing that. But I think if you look at this from the point of view of, if you like, a ranking of the teams that they could have faced, I think most people in Spain probably feel that Chelsea are right in the middle. That Liverpool, Manchester City and Bayern Munich are the three to really, really avoid, that Villarreal and possibly Atletico Madrid, but for very different reasons, and of course Benfica are the ones that they wanted. So this is right in the middle. I think there is a feeling that Real Madrid are possibly slightly stronger than they were last year when they faced Chelsea. And of course the question that's being asked here, and obviously being asked from a distance, is how much of an impact it will have on Chelsea, everything that's currently going on around the ownership of the club and the situation in terms of travel and fans being able to go to games and so on, how much of an impact that will have. So I think Real Madrid feel that they didn't get the easiest draw, but it could have been a lot worse. And I think actually there's a certain degree of confidence in them going through now.
Sid, it doesn't look so sunny in Spain right now. Granted, it's night time, but it looks as though it's pretty cold there.
No, it is cold. It's been very cold all week. We had this very bizarre phenomenon on Tuesday and Wednesday called the Calima, which is when Saharan sand gets blown across Spain, and it was a very strange environment. There was no light at all. It was like the whole place was covered in fog or cloud, but it wasn't fog or cloud. It was dust, and it's been a very odd couple of weeks. If you want, the thing to do is to have a look at the photograph of the ski slopes where the snow has gone orange because there's that much sand around.
Let's keep Sid there for as long as we can then tonight, shall we, and ask him lots and lots of questions. Listen, these two sides met each other in the semis last year. Chelsea were dominant in that tie over both of the legs, winning this one to go on to the final and win that final. What's changed since then for Real Madrid? How can they be confident that they can come away from this one with a better result, Ale?
Well, I think Real Madrid are coming from what was a really good performance against PSG. And that gives you a sense of confidence that you knew you were good enough to try and compete against PSG, but then you go and do it, and that puts you at a different level entirely. As the makeup of Real Madrid and the team itself, Vinicius Jr. is a much better player now than when he was last season. Karim Benzema has not slowed down. In fact, he continues to get better. And it's amazing to say that for a guy of his age, and yet he continues to produce at a ridiculous level. The midfield three, yes, it's a year later, but still an important and critical part to what Real Madrid do. Defensively, they have been better. And Thibaut Courtois is also better this year than he was last season. So overall, the feeling for Real Madrid is we are better and in a better position now than what we were last season. I cannot say the same thing about Chelsea. I look at Chelsea, and you cannot tell me that the current situation in the club does not, in one way or another, affect the performance on the field. And eventually, these things show up in the biggest stages. Well, it doesn't get any bigger than Champions League. And so for me, Chelsea come into this with some difficulties and some questions about their team and their team makeup. I think Real Madrid come into this with less questions than Chelsea does.
Frank, what are your thoughts on the draw?
Completely the opposite of what Ali just said, where I think that I completely disagree with him, where I think it didn't affect any players lately, what's going on with the club at Chelsea, where they showed characters, winning all the games that they had to. And I never thought that Real Madrid won against Paris Saint-Germain. I completely think that Paris Saint-Germain lost against Real Madrid. The performance of Real Madrid players were absolutely abysmal the first leg, and also the second tie, for like an hour, and without a fantastic Benzema, but a horrendous players from Paris Saint-Germain for half an hour, Real Madrid would have never gone through that tie. So I don't think that can change from last season, where Chelsea is the favorite, and Chelsea will still be the favorite even if they played behind closed door that tie. So I think Chelsea player will be quite happy. I know that Tuchel is going to be happy also for the tie. It's going to be a difficult task, but if we compare the quality of the two teams, there is no doubt that Chelsea are the favorites.
Well, Tuchel's actually got a great record against Real Madrid, but the bookies, Steve, have Real Madrid as favourites in this one. Who's favourite for you?
So they should be. I don't understand why anybody thinks Chelsea right now would be. Whether what's going on with the owner or not, whether that affects the players, we don't know. But I'll tell you one thing that we do know is that defensively, Chelsea aren't the side they were last year. And going forward, Chelsea aren't the side they were. All the stuff with Lukaku.
Lukaku?
So if you look at Real Madrid, it's the complete opposite. They are Militao and Alaba in the middle. I've got a great partnership going now defensively, and you've got Vinny Jr. and Benzema, as Ali said, who are flying. So please explain to me how Chelsea can be favourites. I don't get it.
Well, Frank just tried to explain it to you.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense.
Mario, would you like to weigh in on how Chelsea could be
I'm
favourites?
sorry, though. I'm sorry.
No,
it doesn't make any sense.
Look,
Stevie, and with all due respect, I can accept that nobody knows who's going to be the favorite, but you cannot say Real Madrid is better than last season. Maybe we have some defensive problems with Chelsea, but how can you say that Real Madrid, with what you saw against Paris Saint-Germain, is better than last season? Sorry, Mario, to have cut you off.
Hold on a second.
No,
Let's be
no,
honest, Frank.
no problem.
It's about winning the game. It's about winning, isn't it? So you can't turn around and say, well, yes, Real Madrid won, but they didn't win it. PSG lost it. And if it hadn't been for this guy being so brilliant, and if it hadn't been for that being brilliant, and if it hadn't been, we don't deal with ifs, ands and buts, we deal in facts. And the facts are that when it mattered most, one team came alive and completely obliterated the opposition, which was PSG. So, I'm sorry.
Welcome to the show, Mario.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Okay, Sid, look, I totally understand what you're saying. Like when you jump on Real Madrid, they look like, more polished, because if you see what they did against PSG, how they turned the game around. But what Frank said, it was PSG was probably in the upper hand that people expected it. But away from that, if you look at Chelsea, I always said, okay, a wounded dog is always very difficult to play against, because that's what Real Madrid is when they face Chelsea. But one thing you have to understand, when a team or a human being goes through difficulties, they always come back stronger. So now, whatever is happening, in London at the moment, and what's tricky, how great is it when the referee blows the whistle? You know what our power is. Our power is when the referee blows the whistle, we forget all our trouble. That's why we play football. So that's why I think this game will be a proper match, and it's not going to be about what you say, like, okay, it's going to be that easy for Real Madrid. No, I don't agree with that, because first, Real Madrid will be very worried about Chelsea facing them.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for live streaming, premium content, and of course, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.